The miracle of education. I'm lucky because I love learning and I'm a 5D mystic. And so that lovely Christ consciousness, very straightforward. I have a welcoming home. What's that home, you might ask? Well, I got raised in a child centric environment. That's why I'm a self empowered woman. And that means I don't have the whole gender stereotypes, generalizations, none of that, which is generalized thinking, which my education, attachment trauma, my courses, my hours, because I support people who are serious about self help and personal development. I am the pseudoscience lady, though, because I bring human, spiritual, and spirituality elements together, and I'm a mystic. So, again, woo woo for the people who don't experience, perceive, or understand mysticism. What is beautiful about a person who perceives, experiences, and understands? Well, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay, so as a person, what I have recognized, I'm 44, as a teenager, hypocrisy. The mantles of yoga is what they call them now, spiritual bypassers. I also see the mantles of mental health. And that makes my heart very mad. But I know how to handle Kali. Thank you, Shiva. It's nothingness because really there's nothing to be angry about when so many people are so limited in their consciousness. The fact that they talk to you about yoga bringing demons out of you and they think they're right just because of ancient textbooks that I learned something from. What I did learn most of all was Jesus' word of forgiving, turning the other cheek, and God talking to me about being humble. And I told God, hey, God, the people who actually support or say they support you, I think they forgot what humble means. And when you look at Michael Stone, forensic criminologist, his scale of evil, 1 to 22, yeah, the 7 to 14 charming, they don't pull the wool over the eyes of a person who has an inner child that was never fear-mongered at home. That's why I'm smart. Not because I can regurgitate material. No, I'm stupid when it comes to regurgitation of a lot of things, but I'm smart because I'm stable, mature, adaptive, rational, and teachable, and I'm using my left and my right. And yeah, I got an ego. It's a 3-year-old, but I don't stand and watch somebody being bullied, no matter what type of person. And we're going to get into that. The mantles of mental health, if anything, are the ones that at this point for me are pretty clear. Because yoga, spiritual bypassers, they're living their Elsa journey. Okay, so here's Sadhguru for us. I love that the man is out there. Thank goodness yoga's trending. That way people's brains can get optimized to integrate. We're going to get to Daniel Siegel too in a minute. So power by itself is not corruption. I actually wrote a paper on power and corruption because all the people around me, they kept saying power corrupts. And I believed it because, as you're growing up, you believe things that you're told. Slowly learn how a lot of people don't know a lot of things and then that a lot of people use movies, generalizations, and stereotypes and they don't actually get educated. As a political science major, I'm educated on politics and governments, which is why I don't believe in the conspiracy stuff. I also have a master's in international relations and diplomacy. It made me very clear, not about corruption being what actually is the issue. It's actually those people, the research I did, they all had abusive homes, one way, shape, or form. In fact, one of them was most likely something along the lines of a person who got neglected in some way, shape, or form. But because on the outside, the money, nanny, all these things, people said, why did you put him in this research paper, which was qualitative, not quantitative, which is why a lot of people don't really know what quantitative is in the first place, which is also why I don't bother with trying to figure out how to regurgitate material because that's a teenager when they're trying to prove they're right. It's the left mode of a person. I'm bilaterally integrated. Flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable. This is what it means to be an emotional adult. I always just thought adults would be this, but they're not. The 7 to 14 charming, they're all grandiosity. And the only people they pull that wool over the eyes of are the ones who need, what was it this guy said? Somebody who is also interviewed, and he thinks humans will always need a culty cult, traditional cult, and ethical cult because they will always need a silverback. And it's like, yeah, not really. Not the smart ones. We're going to spot them by a mile away. I spot, that game? I spy with my little eye. So smart people, we spy those 7 to 14 charming. And then we spy what they're talking about. And then we're like, how can we fill in that gap? And so, in my case, I support people to be their self. It's very straightforward. And in a lot of different ways. We also talk about how empowered women, yes, our ideal partners, they're men for some of us. For others, it will be women. For others, it's they. But either way, it's an open-hearted. You need to know how to be your inner child. If you can't have foolishness and be silly, and if you care too much about what everybody else says, well, you're not going to be here, are you? because I've seen those people. They live a very, very, oh my gosh, let's not go there, okay? The energy of people who have human suffering love. I mean, you know what I'm thankful of is the experts out there, the therapists, who share with all these people how to get on board with getting their inner child out. And like Patrick Tiahan, he's a childhood trauma survivor, healed and healing, and he shares with his community. We're a minority. And yes, Patrick, you are a minority, because people will come to my cauldron for tarot. Maria, do tarot. Maria, do me a Akashic record. Maria, do this, do that. No, I don't want to do personal development. Nope, I'm not going to get out of me being a person who manipulates and is desperate and twists things around. No, I just want to be told I'm right, which doesn't end up happening. But you know what a teenager can do? So Cusco's, like anybody who's a maladaptive child, thank you, Stephen Porges, they will be able to twist anything that comes in their ears because they're not really listening to me. They're listening to me with their narrative. And that's something that I can't do anything about, nor do I try to figure it out because, again, I give the guidance, I give the support, and usually it's not for personal development. It's for entertainment is what I have to assume at the end because they don't do anything with it. In fact, they come back around and let me know how everything did go exactly how we had found out, stuff like that. And obviously that's great, right? I'm a reader. It's like, wow, I got it right. But then I'm like, wait a minute. So they are living out their karma. So they are a fix now. Their self is no longer expanding. I see. Their mind creates everything. Yep. Okay. So I'm mixing it all in. This is how I do things. Okay. So power by itself is not corruption. Thank you. Said Guru, when human beings hankering for dominance get hold of power, then it becomes a source of corruption. Well, I would say that if we don't get a hold of people and their inner child, this 7 to 14 charming, the grandiose, they keep on pulling the wool over the eyes of the ones who don't get good trauma therapy, which is why here's a person who doesn't wear a mantle of mental health or a mantle of yoga. I care. Thank you, Jesus. I care about people, and I know that I'm not smart. I'm stupid, but I know that I'm also not stupid. And what I'm trying to get to is I support you to be you, and it's easy when you get educated, besides the mystic stuff, which is a bonus, but it's only a bonus because my heart didn't close up when I got to be an adolescent and I got to see all those unkind kids. I didn't understand why they didn't know how to tell me the truth in my face except for fear because they answered me. Because, see, I'm not afraid. As a 3-year-old who didn't get fear-mongered, thank you, Mother, I am a full piece of consciousness. I'm present. I know these words. And the 4D, they're on Elsa's journey with their story. Anytime I hear the word surrender, I want to throw up. Like, actively, I'm like, dude, just stick to the 3D. Just stick to the monotheistic. Go pray and do that because you sound like the same. Please help me, which I get it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm talking to people who are empowered right now or to people who are using their brain. So whenever I have met the 4D, I'm like, okay, yes, surrender, but you do realize that you need to lift your hands and your feet and move in the direction that you're deciding, right? You do realize that there's an authentic self and nobody's perfect and we are all flawed and that every person has a heart, right? So the one thing that they will usually do, the spiritual bypassers, the mantles of yoga. I have a cross to bear, Maria. I'm more sensitive than anybody else. No, I think that a poor child who is fear-mongered at home is most likely tortured inside compared to my body. I'm going to say that in order for that poor child to get home to himself or herself or their self, we need a lot of safe haven, secure-based people. The miracle of change. Thank you, Daniel Siegel. Miracle of him and his research and all the people who do care about mental health, seriously, who aren't spreading rumors, and they're also not using taglines and buzzwords and sentences to try and become popular. They are the infinite possibility of in-between worlds. And so 2024, it's so great to see sciences and spirituality coming actually together. As I learned from lovely Daniel Siegel, he got invited to a spirituality conference. And this is in my course, Consciousness and Change, that I need to finish up. And it's not all with the data. Only part of it is data. Other parts of it are hypotheses, if I remember correctly. And, you know, what's nice about Daniel is he's a true academic who's open-minded. And anybody who's a true academic is not in their ego. When I meet the ego academics, they give us just as good data points as the 7 to 14 charming who pull the wool over the eyes of the 3D 4D. So the people who want to stay limited, they're going to stay limited. But it's okay, because our nervous system functions in a way that theirs doesn't. And you know what? I'm going to leave that one for my own little secret right here for now, because I don't need to spell that one out in this episode. So I feel consistently more of me, not changed. And I understand why now. The miracle of never having been fear mongered in home, okay, and being able to always hear the adults. And then I'm like, okay, were they right here? They were right here. Were they wrong here? Yeah, they were wrong here. Okay, so consciousness and change. We're not going to read the frequencies. Daniel Siegel gets invited to the spirituality conference, and he's like, this is interesting because I'm a sciences person. But see, this is where I got that lovely sentence, the definition of spirituality, true spirituality, living a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. And Daniel Siegel, everything he has done for however many years with Mindsight Institute, with his academia, he's a PhD, he's a doctor. I just don't use the whole Dr. Daniel Siegel because, see, the fact that people want to accentuate something makes me know, you either don't know what you're talking about or you're highlighting it because you're putting somebody on a pedestal. Nobody gets on a pedestal for any empowered inner child, because the miracle of life is I know that I don't know everything, nor do you. And I'm going to hear you out, and then I'm going to make my conclusions, and that's about it. Because when it comes to important things, I'm going to lift my 2 hands and my 2 feet. I'm going to go vote. I'm going to go and try to see those bills, it depends. But when it comes to serious business, I know that the organization stuff is what I'm going to look at, because that exists so that all of us in 2024 can work together. So when I want peer-reviewed stuff, I know where to go. If I want academics, I know where to go. When I go to social media, I'm not looking for academics. I'm entertaining myself. I'm noticing subjective experiences, and I'm noticing those who are good at the how-tos, and then I'm noticing the mantles. And the mantle people, well, they're beautiful. Venuses of goddesses of May. Okay, so now we have some more empowered voices. I've seen a bunch of them, and we're going to get into that. So this is a little this and that. Okay, so the Daniel Siegel part and the Sadhguru part, spirituality sciences, they show one thing, and one thing for sure, that every person does have a heart, like Pacha tells Cusco. And IHP is all about people who are serious about their inner well-being, so getting home to your inner child. I'm here. I have a restorative embodiment. I have an integrated brain. I'm not a genius. I really am not. Actually, there's a lot of things I don't see, but there's one thing that I do see whenever I meet somebody, and that's because I'm not going to say it's only because of being a mystic, because I really don't feel, I feel that's a bonus, and I feel that sciences can explain all of our mystical clairs. But I'm going to say that I got lucky because I got to be a person who loves to learn, and I love to wait until I know enough about what can actually balance out anything. And I don't like rumors, like yoga brings demons out of you, like the whole story about the serpent. I don't like stories that put people in groups of inherently good or evil, which is not something that is actual reality at this point with our lovely attachment trauma information. Sciences people. I was already a teenager and then a young adult when I said, hey, God, I don't know about this evil stuff. I do see human suffering. So I'm going to choose to follow what I learned in my catechism, which is Jesus' word. And these people who are 7 to 14 charming and grandiose, who are most likely with narcissistic traits at the very least, if not psychopathic traits, because seriously, the part that people don't understand, I see it. I see it all the time, but no matter how many times you try to tell a person who's a childhood trauma survivor, because they will have had some type of rupture that has their 3-year-old, let me out, and they're looking, who's going to be my reality, and they're navigating and gravitating towards that which they consider the truth already. So I've seen it, and I keep seeing it, and I'm going to be the person who shares something a lot different for our IHP community, because we are witnesses to what is an amazing time, and that is there is no need for sacrifice. Our lovely sciences makes it possible for us to consistently expand and consistently rebalance. Whatever has happened, it's only the misanthropists, the people who hate, dislike, and mistrust humans, their own species. I don't mistrust my species. We're part of nature. I understand that we are a disorganized, yes, Daniel, a disorganized attachment group. And I know it's because we don't have the differentiation and linkage which means where we can accept differences. I'm bicultural. Look, I'm an American Italian. I love hugging people. I had to learn how to respect the Anglo-Saxon way of not hugging all people. I got called weird in my college years for asking one of my college mates to go to lunch. And I'm like, what? How are you supposed to make friends? This is awkward, you know? And then growing up and continuing to grow up and care about people and see people talk to me about their desire to help people, and then to talk and say, oh, that's a narcissist, that's a covert over there, that one is this. Oh, you know what, we are getting rid of the bad people of our group. Okay, so yeah, there's no bad or good for an inner child. They're all people. Leave them alone. And if you can't have an open heart, then go and be with good therapy until you can have an open heart, is what I'm going to say, because I feel bad for those children who didn't get a safe home. So in order for them to be able and get that closure, they're gonna need someone, and more than just someone, to be that person that can say, you have a beautiful inner child in there. Of course, there are those who don't want to do the work. We know that. That doesn't mean you get to label them. That's why Michael Stone, I like his scale. It's 1 to 22 of evil. They all are people who don't get their shit together. The mantles of mental health are people who like to do this. And so we're going to end with story time, because to me, Maria, me, your host right now, what I find a bully, I find it not the physical part, but that's because I'm good with emotions and thoughts, okay? So I'm okay with my inner beingness. So when I'm looking out there as a divine feminine, which is why my divine masculines, I know I need them, because they're the ones who can see what I won't see, which is that 3D plane. I will actively not be anywhere near aware of any of the societal stuff. I don't care about it, because as long as you're, again, not representing a physical threat, my heart's going to see your inner child, and I'm going to want to nurture and support you if I can. Oh, and the other part about a divine feminine is we know who's open to it and who's not, because you're an energy and I'm an energy, and we're all nervous systems, really is what I should say, but also we're all vibrations. Okay, so to me, Maria, a bully is not the physical part, even though obviously that's also bully. I find it mental health mantles who go around as spiritual bypassers, one, and they're the codependent type martyrs and superiors who are telling people what they are and not are, and they're canceling and blocking, and they're all yelling, not to mention the yelling part. That's the number one thing that tells me you didn't learn about attachment and trauma. You're in your sympathetic right now as you yell, and you think that you're doing somebody some favor. You obviously are not aware of the fourth step to recovery of a trust break or trauma, which is that you're looking for bystanders to take your side. And here we have those groups. Okay, so overall, if I see anyone being a person who's mistreating another human being because they're different, and I can step in, I will step in. And I will not take sides, but I will step in to support the person who's being dragged down into the mud for no other reason except for not conforming to what the herd apparently decided they should conform, but a herd that is ignorant. So evil to me is any human being who's ignorant, who right now in 2024 continues to spread rumors like yoga bringing demons out of your body, or using titles and saying that's an evil narcissist versus that's a narcissist, or not even, pointing, why are you doing that? Are you an official therapist? And really, you're not supposed to be diagnosing people like that. Okay, so we have different groups, social medias, to create conversations in my book. And my conversations are, one, if you're serious about emotional awareness, accountability, self-regulation, come on over. Let's have grown-up relationships, and let's support for real people who are on a journey to heal trauma, because there are those who are aware. The ones who are not aware, they don't need to be told by anyone what to do. It's been how many years now? Since 2007 that I have Claire's. And there are people that do this merry-go-round. Is it painful? No, I'm not them. They know what's best for them. I know from the trauma experts that your body and your brain are always seeking to return home to yourself. So I know that if you resist your inner child, let me out, you are not going to get to that lovely miracle of you, because you're resisting yourself. But I also won't go around with gender stereotypes and a lot of other things. So on that note, this one was really just to call out those who are mental health mantles. They're not trying to help people, because they are canceling people and talking about people with these names and these words. I welcome all people. As long as you represent no physical threat, you're going to be welcome in my home. And if you represent any physical threat, I'm going to say, hey, I'm calling the cops on you now. Don't you dare come and break any laws here. Don't you bring me any kind of trouble. I'm a member of society, and I want to see our society keep moving forward. So we do personal development here. We don't talk about all of that other stuff going on. But even if we did, the nice thing about grown-ups, see, this is where I love my grown-ups, because we get to have interesting political, religious, societal, all of it. And that's what expands our brains, by the way, because consciousness can only be brought forth by divine masculines and divine feminines, which, by the way, you have your own divine masculine, divine feminine, however we want to do it, it's the same. And when you're meeting people, they will know if they are in that spectrum or not. But also remember, my lovely mystics, we're woo-woo, pseudoscience. So some people, they're not in the plane of possibilities in the way we are. But 5D is different than 4D, who keep on disconnecting from what amazing journey our oversoul can be. So I'm going to have another episode for you all. Again, thank you for stopping by. Let me know if you have any questions, if you have something specific for you. We have paid subscription-based model content on the audio version. Once we get to 1K, we will have it for membership here. If you have curiosity, hey, Maria, I want you to talk about this topic. I love talking about topics. I'm attachment and trauma informed. I continue my educational stuff on that. I'm a mystic, and I don't do the ancient textbooks, but I can do research. But if you're curious about, experiences, so I've had my lovely light bodies, rainbow bodies, all that stuff, I can definitely do an episode where I talk a little bit about it. I can tell you that you grounding in your inner child is number one, to enjoy expansion of consciousness and to enjoy yourself, and that it is about your window of, I have a window welcome to emotions. So if you have a window of tolerance, then we're going to want to wait for that window of tolerance to get expanded, stuff like that. So any questions that you have about that, it's not true that you lose people when you get into your spirituality awakening or Kundalini awakening. So there's a lot of differences. For the 5D mystics, those of you who will resonate, just come on over, ask your questions. And on that note, I'm going to go now, and we'll be back with another episode shortly.